I'm sure you've heard practice makes perfect. You've heard it a lot when we talk about shooting and especially about handguns, everyday carry, personal defense. You gotta practice. You gotta practice. Well, practice can be quite expensive, especially if you're shooting and carrying premium ammo like this, and this is very good stuff. Federal HST happens to be 147 grain bullets in this one right here. 124 is also excellent choice in the HST. But as I said, fairly expensive. So Federal has come out with a new, relatively new on the market alternative, and this is their Federal training ammo, Syntech Training Match. And this particular thing here, 147 grain, is specifically designed to give you identical point of impact to Federal Premium HST. These are supposed to be the same. That's what we're testing today. I'm going to be shooting 2 groups of each of these, 2 5-shot groups. The first 5-shot group will be fired from 15 yards at a target right over there, bullseye target. Second will be offhand shooting from 7 yards, kind of that fighting distance. I'll be chronographing this. I'm also going to be using the recoil meter on my Mantis X10, and that's all going to be done with my HK VP9. That sets us up. Let's go ahead and get started shooting. I'm going to start with the Federal HST simply because I'm familiar with it, not familiar with the Syntech round, shooting at the bullseye on the left. That's 5. Let's take a look at how it did. It did record all 5 of my shots. Standard deviation of those muzzle velocity, now this is really impressive, 6 feet per second. Excellent ammo. You can see how it did on target. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the 147 grain matched Syntech ammo and shoot at the bullseye on the right. Federal Syntech. There's 5 rounds of the Syntech. Let's take a look at how it did. Hey, this is good again. Standard deviation on this muzzle velocity is still in the single digit, 7.7 feet per second. We got all 5 rounds recorded. Does Federal Syntech really match up to Federal HST? Hey, I give it the thumbs up, and here's why. First of all, both or all of the targets that we shot, the bullseye targets that we shot today, from both 15 yards and 7 yards, are really similar. Let's take a look at those. Here we're looking at the 15-yard target, the first group that I fired, HST. Notice that pattern in the upper right quadrant of that target. Also notice the final score, 42 points, 0 in the bull. Compare that to the 147 grain Syntech, the second group that we shot. Notice almost all those shots are also in that upper right quadrant of the bull, and we actually had one in the dead bullseye. Now that one actually is a little bit problematic though, because that bullet clearly keyholed. You can almost see the actual shape of that bullet flying sideways through that target. But you know, I'm not going to worry about that. Not going to pay much attention to that, simply because this is training ammo. I'm not really happy with that, but that may be just the way it is for this particular round, or it might just happen every so often. I'd be really concerned with it if we saw that from the federal HST. Now remember, this is specifically training ammo. It's designed to have the same point of impact on the target as the 147 grain HST. The Syntech is supposed to have the same point of impact. It pretty much does. But, and don't make a mistake with this, it is not designed to be a replacement for your actual self-defense rounds, everyday carry type of things, because terminally it will not have the same impact or the same results. In fact, if you're interested, we did a test of the federal HST, full test that we call our PAC-T series, that is precision, accuracy, consistency, and terminal performance, and the 147 grain HST did a fine job. We actually compared it to the 124 grain HST bullet, and you can catch that video using the link in the description. What's also interesting about this 147 grain test that we did today is the previous test I did, also shooting from 15 yards off the bench, produced an extremely similar group. Here we're looking at that HST 147 grain group fired from 15 yards, but this was months ago. Actually, I shot this in 2023. It scored 44 points, 0 in the bull. But look at how similar those groups are. Again, upper right quadrant of that target. So definitely this pair of ammunition, factory ammunition, gets a thumbs up for its point of impact comparison, both at 15 yards and at 7 yards. We should take a look at that more closely. This is our 7-yard targets. So similar, really quite similar. We did not see the keyholing here. Got a nice score, actually a perfect score of 50 points with 2 in the dead bullseye for group number 3. Remember, that was our Syntech ammunition fired for group number 3. And we scored 49 points with 3 in the dead bullseye for the HST. So similar, even in score at that 7 yards. And I think it also earns a thumbs up for the cost. That box of ammunition that I bought cost me $20. Now, a box of 20 of the 147 grain HST rounds will cost me about $23 on sale. So when we compare apples to apples, that would cost me $60 for 50 rounds. That then makes the HST 3 times as expensive as the Syntech. So it earns a thumbs up in the cost savings or value department as well. But how does it feel while shooting? One of the other tests that we did was I used the recoil meter on my Mantis X10. And here we're looking at some of those results. Recovery time for the Syntech, 1.12. Recovery time for the HST, 1.22. That's only a difference of 1/10 of a second. Essentially imperceptible. Muzzle rise in degree, 23, almost 24% for the Syntech, 22.3, let's just say 22% for the HST. Again, I think that's imperceptible. Can you tell the difference in only 2 degrees? Only 2 degrees, just out here. Can you tell that difference really? I couldn't. I couldn't discern any difference between any of those rounds and how they felt in my hand. But then again, I know that I'm not too sensitive to recoil, especially with handguns. Well, I'm interested in what you think about these results. Do you give this a thumbs up? Do you think it's a good idea? Or do you think it's a gimmick? Post your ideas in the comment section. Any observations you might have would be really helpful to both myself and other people who take a look at these videos. I'll try to answer any questions that you have, so feel free to post away in those comments. Thanks again for watching.